the ongoing machinations in the United Kingdom are fascinating, as anything but progressive Labour Party insiders relegated to the margins by Jeremy Corbyn's rise to power actually work with the Conservative Party and members of Israel's Knesset to make unprecedented demands of the British Labour leader. These machinations and the nothing less than outrageous interference in Britain's political process, not just by Israeli bagmen, but by Netanyahu himself and a virtual who's who of the Israeli political elite, exposes the standover tactics long used by Zionists to strong-arm politicians around the world into uncritically embracing and promoting their agenda, no matter how obscene, unlawful, and unjust it may be. If that is not already enough, the really quite absurd complaints made by the Labour Party's own shadow chancellor to the effect that, quote, no one of Jewish faith has given any money to the Central Party since Mr. Corbyn took office because those around him vilified Jews and shut down people who attempt to defend Israel, unquote, also exposes the effectiveness of Israel's preferred tactic of bribing foreign politicians in order to influence their government's foreign policy. Watching this embarrassingly corrupt witch hunt that, without coincidence, has unfolded just as the British prepared to go to the polls demonstrates just how corrupt the sellouts comprising the British old guard in politics on both sides of the contrived ideological divide have become. On the Labour side, those who are openly opposed to their own leader and to the party's majority quite clearly prefer the money of foreign lobbyists to embracing their own party leadership, even if that means occupying the opposition benches for the foreseeable future. As for the laughable accusations of anti-Semitism being flung about, those orchestrating this witch hunt may be salivating over the traction they are getting in Britain's corrupt pro-Zionist media. But the British people, self-obsessed and apathetic about foreign affairs as they may often be, are certainly not stupid. It does not take any great degree of genius to understand that criticizing Israel's excesses and war crimes, or referring to the historical relationship which political Zionism had with the Nazi Party, is in no way anti-Semitic, no matter that the Zionist lobby has gone so far as to compel the publisher of Webster's International Dictionary of the English Language to actually redefine anti-Semitism as including any support for the enemies of Israel or criticism of Israel itself. In any case, Webster's is an American publication which promotes a regional variation of English which is hardly English at all. The tightly controlled British media's enthusiasm to echo the preposterous allegations of anti-Semitism being bandied about within the Labour Party and against members like Ken Livingstone, Naz Shah, George Galloway, and Jeremy Corbyn, who in reality have little in common, only exposes the extent to which the tightly controlled British media is also fully under the sway of foreigners and executives who have sold out to the Zionist lobby in the same way the bulk of Britain's once embarrassingly proud political establishment now dances to the tune of the all-powerful Zionist lobby. Bearing in mind the violent Zionist occupation of Palestine and the related cultural genocide which has persisted now for more than 6 decades, claims expressed by Israel politicians in the context of this witch hunt that Hezbollah and Hamas are also anti-Semitic are all the more absurd. Bearing in mind how the Zionist lobby has redefined anti-Semitism to include any and all opposition to Zionist policy, it would be ludicrous for anyone to expect organizations representing Palestinian interests to be anything but opposed to their occupiers. If they want to call that anti-Semitism, well then so be it. But it certainly zaps all the meaning out of that term. All we can do is take our hats off and salute the courage of Mr. Corbyn to reject calls to demonize Hezbollah, Hamas, and Palestinians, even if the practical realities of the now fully corrupted British political process sometimes requires him to make compromises in order to retain power and advance his progressive agenda. It is indeed refreshing to at last see a senior Atlantic world politician refuse to be intimidated and stick to his well-developed and informed sense that Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Palestinian people, unlike their occupiers, are no enemy of the United Kingdom, despite the unforgivable crimes committed by the British in selling out Palestinians to the Zionist terrorists after World War I, right through until their unilateral declaration of independence made in direct violation of the international community's efforts in 1948 to find a solution for Palestine that preserved the rights of both Palestinians and those European Jews who, in the aftermath of World War II, streamed illegally into Palestine, often still wearing concentration camp uniforms on their arrival, years after the Nazis were defeated and the camps liberated. Meanwhile, British citizens from all walks of life, from the progressives who support Jeremy Corbyn in vast numbers to the absurd hard-right compromising Britain First constituency, would do well to ask themselves just when their nation's political establishment became so pathetically obsequious in their pandering to foreign interests.